welcome back to a new video. So today I'm doing another autism reviews video. As always, there is an accompanying blog post to this, so if you prefer to read it instead of watch it, then you can. I will leave the link down below. It's on my blog, photography.samanthadrage.co.uk, so you can go and check that out. So today I'm going to be reviewing period underwear. It feels a bit weird holding a pair of my pants up on camera, but you know. So yeah, let's just get right into it. First of all, the brand of period underwear I bought was Modibodi. It's the #1 in the UK, so it was a good one to start with. This is what they look like. You can get, there's a lot of different shapes and styles, because I know some people prefer different styles of underwear. I don't remember what this style is called, but basically it's the boring one. You know, the same style that I've been wearing since I was about 5. So before I get into the pros and cons and talk about it, I want to give you a little bit of background. It's going to be a little bit gross, but you know, period shouldn't be a taboo thing, so I'm just going to talk about it. So I have really heavy periods, like really heavy periods. I am on the pill, so it thins them ever so slightly, and it's reduced them from like 7 days to maybe 6.5. So it's helped a teeny tiny bit, but not really. So periods are, I mean, they're a pain in the ass, literally, and anyone who menstruates will know that, but mine are ridiculously heavy, ridiculously painful, and just all around pretty rubbish time. So obviously period underwear isn't going to fix the pain or anything else, so we're not going to be talking about that. We're just going to be talking about how it affects the flow, you know, how many times I have to change and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's important to know that I do have an incredibly heavy flow for the context of the video. So now let's get into the pros and cons. We're going to start with pros. The first one is that they are incredibly true to size. If you look at the Modibodi website and you look at their reviews, the reviews will also tell you the exact same thing. Every one of them says they're pretty much exactly true to size. I believe I got a size 20. Yes, the sizings were slightly complicated because it depends where you are in the world, but it's a UK 20 and a US XXL. I'm not sure what that would be anywhere other than the UK or the US, but I'm sure you can find a conversion on Google. And yeah, these fit perfectly. They fit exactly like my other pairs of underwear do, so they are really true to size, which is great because especially with a lot of women's clothing, sizes are very hit and miss, and you know, what size you are depends on what shop you're in, what part of the country you're in, whether you've like looked at a piece of cake that week, you know, so it can be a little bit rough. So it's nice to know that they are true to size. Before we get into the actual performance of the underwear, I wanted to mention that they did come in 100% recyclable packaging, which is really great. Obviously a lot of companies are starting to move to sustainable packaging. You know, we're still a long way off, and I'm personally really passionate about the environment, so it's always great to see when companies share that same passion and interest in the environment, because I do think it's really important that we stop using unnecessary plastic and all the other stuff. I ordered 10 pairs, so 2 packs of 5, which should cut the price down slightly by buying them in a bundle pack, and they actually came individually wrapped, which was a little bit weird, but again, there was no plastic, so it wasn't really a big deal. I'm not really sure why they packaged them individually, so like each pair of pants came in its own little cardboard sort of sleeve, and then they all came in a box. So I'm not really sure why they did that. I suppose it could be useful if, you know, if you're ordering them and planning on giving some as a gift, you know, they're already packaged or something, but I'm not really sure why. But you know, again, it was all completely recyclable cardboard, and I believe the cardboard was made out of recycled stuff anyway, so all very sustainable. All of their products themselves are also very environmentally friendly. I won't go into a huge amount of detail because I'm not an expert, but I will leave a link to the website so you can go and read up on it yourself. And of course, it is worth mentioning that if you use period underwear rather than tampons or pads, then obviously it's better for the environment because you're not disposing of who knows how many tampons and pads every month, which is obviously much better. I know you can get the menstrual cups and things as well, which are also very environmentally friendly, but the underwear also serves that same purpose of, you know, you're not throwing stuff away every month. So now let's get into the performance. They performed amazingly. So, as the title would suggest, I am autistic, and so therefore I have an awful lot of sensory issues. And part of the problem, I mean, there's a lot of problems with my period, but part of them is that I really struggle using pads or tampons or anything really, because I hate how it feels. Tampons don't work for me at all because, one, sensory issues, they don't work, and also my flow is so heavy that I have to change the tampon like every hour, which isn't particularly sustainable, both for the environment and for my sanity. So I always ended up using pads, which honestly they were marginally better than tampons because they last more than an hour, but really they're just as bad sensory wise. They get sweaty and sticky and smelly and they move around and they're itchy, and I hate them. However, it was that or the tampons, and the pads were the lesser of two evils. So I was obviously very keen to try and find a different product that wouldn't cause me so many sensory issues and would last more than a couple of hours. To give you an idea, I would roughly go through about 5 pads a day at least. Sometimes on the very heavy days in the middle it would be like 7 or even 8 sometimes. So that should give you an idea about just how heavy my flow is. However, I only had to wear 1 pair of pants per day, which was great. So I had one for the whole day, change them at night, and then change them first thing in the morning. Honestly, in terms of absorbency, they were top notch. Like, if it wasn't so gross, I could have worn them for a full 24 hours and it would have been fine. But, you know, after going to the toilet several times and kind of like having to put them back on, it was like, no, I think I'll change them before I go to bed. So, you know, in terms of absorbency, they could have lasted 24 hours, but I thought it was a bit gross, so I didn't. And they were incredibly comfortable. Like, honestly, I wear these like when I'm not on my period as well, because they're just so comfortable, and I think it'll be great in winter because they are thicker. It'll keep me warm. So yeah, thankfully it has pretty much completely removed all sensory issues relating to pads and tampons because I no longer have to wear them, and the underwear is really, really comfy. A huge problem I had was that when I was on my period I could never sleep at all. One, because I was in quite a lot of pain, and two, because the pads were just so damn uncomfortable. All I could think about was, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And it was sweaty and horrible, and I was so paranoid that I was gonna like move in the night and it would spill everywhere. You know, we all know how horrible that is. And so essentially the result was that I just didn't sleep. I would doze a little bit, but I would never fully sleep for basically the entire week. So of course then I would be exhausted afterwards, and that would have a knock-on effect for weeks afterwards. However, the underwear has completely solved that issue. I can now sleep soundly, and there were no leaks either, which is quite astounding considering how heavy my flow is. It's also worth mentioning that I am a fidgeter. I fidget so much in bed, so it really is very impressive that the underwear managed to last all night. I was able to sleep soundly and it didn't spill at all. So yes, needless to say, they held up to the reviews. They were truly amazing. They were really comfortable. They got rid of the sensory issues. I was able to sleep. There were no spills. I wasn't changing the pad every 2 hours, and they were just really, really amazing. That being said though, there are a few cons that I just want to go over very quickly. They're not huge, but they are worth mentioning. So the first one is that they are quite expensive. It's £24 per pair. I actually have 11 because we ordered 1 pair in advance so that we could sort of test the sizing, and then once we were happy that the sizing was good, then we ordered 2 bundle packs. If you order in bundle packs, it does reduce the price ever so slightly, but honestly only slightly. I spent about £230 in total on them, so they are quite expensive. However, I did some research and the average woman spends about £5,000 on her periods throughout her entire life, which is ridiculous. So although spending 250 quid on period underwear is quite a daunting number, I personally think it's worth it because, you know, if you think that, you know, the average person spends £5,000 on period products throughout their lives, I think spending that extra bit of money up front is well worth it, because you will save a lot over the course of your life, and also they should pretty much last you your entire life. The only reason I can really see that you would need to replace them is if you drastically change size. So if you put on a lot of weight or if you lost a lot of weight, then you may need to replace them because they will no longer fit. But you know, that's really the only reason I can see why you would need to replace them, because they have very good reviews in terms of how long they last. And honestly, they're really good quality, so I would expect them to last a good few decades at least. So yeah, they are expensive, but I don't think it's a huge con considering how much you save in the long run. So the other and final con is a little bit of a funny one. It's not a huge issue, I just thought it was worth mentioning because we air dry our washing. We have a washing machine and I believe it does have a dryer setting, but we don't use it. One, because it just takes too long and we can't be bothered, so we just air dry everything, which is also better for the environment if you air dry things. So we've always done that in our house. But what we found is because the underwear is so absorbent, it took forever to air dry. So we washed it and it took about 3 to 4 days to fully air dry, whereas normally an average piece of clothing would take maybe 24 hours. So just be aware. I mean, if you use a dryer, then you won't have a problem because the dryer will dry them and that'll be fine. But if you air dry your washing, just be aware that they do take a much longer to dry because they are so absorbent. Which is kind of funny, but I suppose it also says a lot in terms of just how absorbent they are, because you know they are really great. So those are all the pros and cons. So now let's talk about would I recommend period underwear. Obviously I can only talk for the brand I bought, which is Modibodi, but I would absolutely 100% recommend them. If you menstruate at all, then honestly you need period underwear. If you're one of the lucky bastards who, you know, has an incredibly light flow and maybe bleeds for like 5 minutes, then maybe they're not necessary. But if you have, you know, a standard to a heavy flow at all, honestly you need them. They will save you so much money in the long run. They will help the environment because you're not using disposable things. They're super comfy, super absorbent. Like there's really no cons other than the fact that they are a little bit pricey to begin with. So honestly, 100% recommend them. Modibodi, as well as I'm pretty sure a lot of other period underwear companies, they also sell underwear, so pants and also bras for other issues. So if you have like bladder problems, I can't speak on that, but I would assume that they're just as absorbent, because it's the same pair of underwear, you just use them for different reason. I know they have bras for if you're breastfeeding and stuff, and again, I can't talk on that, but you know, given how well the period underwear I bought works, I would expect that they work just the same. I think period underwear is especially great if you have sensory issues like myself, whether it's because you're autistic or if you just have sensory issues for other reasons, then they are so much better than pads and tampons. So yeah, if you menstruate, get yourself some period underwear because I promise you it will be worth it. So yeah, that's kind of it for this review. I hope you enjoyed and I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them down below, so just leave them down below in the comments and I will reply as soon as I can. And yeah, I hope this was useful. Let me know if you buy some period underwear, and let me know how you found it because I'd be very interested to know. And yeah, other than that, make sure you like it if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next video.